Morning, guys. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining me again today. Um, these juicy topics keep on coming. You guys are asking amazing questions and having some really interesting conversations in the group. Reason 426 why I love our group. It really has a special place in my heart. So, thank you for your amazing questions. This week, we're going to be talking about screen time. Um, it's something that's come up a lot lately. There's been a lot of talk about how screen time has affected your children, your personal experiences. There's been some bigger claims made about how screen time affects children in general. So I want to share some research, share some knowledge, give you the facts, and empower you to take that and make the right choices for your family. All right. Let's jump in. We're going to get right to it. We're going to start with the juicy question. Does screen time cause language delay, or does screen time worsen language delay? Can it delay language skills? Can it cause autism? Can it cause something that looks like autism? What's the deal? So here's the deal. The research does show um, a that when a child watches a lot of TV, they, in general, a big group of children who watched more TV than another group of children did score lower on language tests and cognitive tests, thinking skills tests. So there does seem to be some correlation between watching lots and lots of TV and having lower skills in language and cognition. Okay, let's dive a little deeper into that because it's not quite as scary as it seems. Here's the thing. These effects were small in a lot of the research studies. So we're looking at the average of lots and lots of kids. It doesn't mean that every single child in the studies showed poor language skills after watching lots of TV. Okay. The other really important thing to know is that these studies didn't show causation. That means they can't say for sure that the TV caused lower skills in some of these areas. All right, think about that. Why else could there be a correlation? Why else could somebody watching a lot of TV score lower in some of these areas? Well, maybe a child who doesn't have a lot of language skills prefers to watch more TV. There's a lot of evidence, a lot of research that shows that children with autistic kids have sensory differences. That's part of the diagnostic criteria. So a child who maybe prefers more visual input may prefer to watch TV more. It's not that the TV caused the autism, it's that the autism caused the TV watching. This gets a little bit tricky, but let me know if this is making sense. Let me know in the comments if that kind of makes sense, that TV might not be the cause of some of these delays, but more of the effect that a child would prefer to watch more TV. There's other variables that may make this more complicated too, right? A child who is in a home where there's less language stimulation, less going on in their environment, maybe more stress in their family, they may be watching more TV, but it's those initial challenges that's causing the language difficulty. So there's a lot of variables here. There is research that shows that children who watch more TV have more difficulty in some of these areas, but there's not enough research to show that it's the TV that's causing this difficulty. All right, I know, with everything development and toddlers, it's not cut and dry. So I'm giving you the information so that you can think about how to apply it to your own life. So we're going to talk about that too. All right. If you're here, if you're still with me, give me a wave. Tell me that you're here. Tell me where you're watching from. I love that our group is so international. We got people from all over the United States and the UK and Australia and India and the Philippines, all over the world. So let me know where you're watching from too. And let's see, we can make this fun. Why don't you put in a show or something that your child likes to watch? I promise we are not judging here. All right. So that's kind of what the research says, right? That there is a correlation between excessive TV watching or excessive screen time and language delay. but we don't know for sure why that is. So we need to take that with a grain of salt. All right. The next question I want to answer is the big one. How much screen time should I give my child? You probably already can tell that I'm not going to come up and just give you a number. But, oh, I see Nez says Paw Patrol. We watch a lot of Paw Patrol here too. Okay, Nez, I'm reading your comments. I recently had a relative claim that my son's speech was not due to 4 times a week therapy, but rather because he has grown in that time. The person thinks he would have spoken as much without therapy. That is not true, but can you share some research or experiences for me to share with them? Okay, awesome. I will do that after the live. I will dig some stuff up for you and send them over, and maybe we can talk about that in a future live. Good question, though. Yeah. Everyone has an opinion, right? All right, so let's talk more about screen time. How much screen time should you give your kids? Well, the American Pediatric Association says that up until 18 months, kids shouldn't have any screen time, except for FaceTiming or, any kind of video chat with family members and people they don't usually get to see. That's okay even for little babies. But up until 18 months, no real screen time, no TV shows, no CoComelon, no songs. That's what they say. Then from 18 months until 5 years, the APA recommends up to 1 hour a day of screen time. Now, around 4 to 5, they say 1 to 2 hours a day. All right. That's not a lot of time, right? So you have to do what works for your family. I don't think anyone from the APA came into your house and said, how are things going here, and asked what you think about that. 1 hour a day, it's a good benchmark to have in your mind, but if your day requires a little bit more screen time, or if that makes your life a little bit easier and lets you get dinner made or take a shower, there's no shame in that at all. I always say you can't be anti-screen time and pro-mom or pro-dad. My kids watch TV. My middle one too, will play some games on the iPad. We put a lot of limits on it. And we'll talk more about ways that you can make screen time work for your family without worrying that it's being detrimental to their development. All right. Allie asked a really great question in the group. She said, can educational screen time still be considered negative? So another way to say that is, are there benefits to quality programming, right? We all watch TV. We know that there's some screen time that makes your brain turn to mush and makes your kids turn into zombies. And there's some screen time where your kids are interacting with the TV, where they're learning social skills, they're learning numbers, they're learning all kinds of things, right? So yes, there's absolutely a difference there. If your children's eyes are melting, they're not learning anything. If they're talking to the screen and getting up and moving their bodies, they're getting a lot more benefit. That said, you still want to create some boundaries, some limits. And yes, you can allow some time for those sort of educational programs, but you don't want to rely on them too much. So why not, right? My kid's learning, why can't I just let them learn from the TV? All right, so learning from the TV has its benefits and it also has its limitations. Benefits. Some kids just learn really well from rote presentation of information, right? So hearing it over and over in the same way from the TV really can help a child learn things like colors and numbers, even some vocabulary. I know a lot of parents have talked about how their child has learned a lot from TV, and I'm not discounting any of that. That's great. The problem is that TV doesn't offer that back and forth social interaction that we can get from being with another person. So an analogy I like to say is it's kind of like learning to fly an airplane from a video, right? You can probably learn all the mechanics of flying an airplane, what levers to move, what buttons to push. I clearly know nothing about flying an airplane, but that's kind of like learning to talk from TV. You can kind of learn all the important steps, although maybe some vocabulary, some words, what sounds, how to make certain sounds, but you have to actually do it to learn. So a pilot might learn a lot of information from watching videos, but unless they're in the pilot seat trying to fly, they're not going to become a competent pilot. Same thing with talking. Unless your child is interacting with others and having those social opportunities, they're not going to become a competent communicator. So, yes, TV can teach some elements of communication, but it is not a stand in for really learning to talk. And I say TV, but I also mean games and YouTube and all that. Does that make sense? That TV gives you part of the puzzle, but not the whole picture? So, yes, educational programming can be great, especially as kids get a little older and really are starting to take in more, but it is not a replacement for teaching your children to communicate with you. Okay, so I hope that that's clear, that there are pros and cons. Hi, Heather. Hi, Carolyn. So let me know if that answered your question, Allie. I hope that it did. In general, you can certainly offer these programs. You can definitely find benefit in them, but just know that they're not the be all and end all of teaching your child to talk. Okay, Ness said, what about interactive games? Good question. Interactive is better than passive, right? So again, that glazed over face, that's what we want to avoid. I mean, certainly sometimes there's a place for that. But interactive games, yeah, your child definitely is able to get more out of that, especially for their cognitive skills, right? A lot of those games work on attention skills or memory skills. If they're saying words to the screen, that's good too. It's still subpar to human interaction, but it has its place. It does teach skills. So we're definitely not, you probably are getting the idea here. We're not being super black and white here because that's just not life. That's not how development works. You are going to use your own parental instinct to make the choices that are right for your child. My job is to give you the facts so that you can do what works for your family. So that really is what it comes down to, right? What works for your family? If you're working from home and your kids are with you a good chunk of the day, you might rely more on screen time, right? If you have a new baby, you might rely more on screen time. If you're not feeling well, if you have morning sickness and you have a toddler, you might rely more on screen time. You will not get any shame from me. That's life, that's fine. Just be realistic about what the screen time is, right? Your child may be learning some skills, but they're likely not getting as much out of it as doing other things hands-on. So that's kind of the biggest downside of screen time, right? It takes away from other opportunities to do things. If your child's sitting watching a screen or interacting with the tablet even, they're not getting other sensory experiences. They're not outside where they're hearing things and touching different textures. They're not having a back and forth interaction with another person. They're not feeling the blocks and watching them build as they create something. So it's a limited experience watching TV, and we don't want that to take the place of other more robust experiences that your child could be having. Okay. Let's get to some tips here, because I know I've given you a lot of information about limiting and why you shouldn't have too much screen time and how you still could have some screen time, and it can get a little confusing. So let me give you some really actionable tips, things that you can start implementing today to help your child get the most out of their screen time while also limiting any negative effects of screen time. All right? So first thing, set limits. You're in charge. Even if your child is kicking and screaming, tell yourself, I'm in charge. We had a day like that yesterday, let me tell you. It took me about 45 minutes to pick up my son from school because his brother and sister were like throwing fits, running the opposite direction. It was quite the afternoon. All right, but that's neither here nor there. Setting limits. You're the parent, you decide how long your child watches TV. If your child really is getting a lot of great stimulation from the TV, they love it, they're so invested in it, then maybe you slowly decrease the time to make everybody's life a little bit easier. But you set the limits. You don't have to say to a child, you can only watch TV for an hour a day. That may not really mean anything to them. But a great way to set limits is to use your routine. So you may say, okay, we're only going to watch one show before breakfast, or we can watch TV before breakfast and when mommy makes dinner. That's it. So use your routine to help carve out when screen time is appropriate and allowed. And let your child know that those are the rules and that's that. We'll talk about how to get your child to stop watching TV when they're in the middle of something too, because that can be a challenge as well. When possible, watch together. So I know a lot of times we use screen time so that we can take care of something else. That's okay, that's life. But if you can, sit down with your child and talk about what's going on the screen. That way they get that social back and forth piece while they're also enjoying the screen time. So let's say you're watching Daniel Tiger. You say, oh, Daniel's eating pancakes. Hey, we had pancakes. Oh, I like syrup on my pancakes. Do you like syrup on your pancakes? So that kind of thing. Talking about what's on the screen and connecting it to real life objects or actions. When you do have the TV on, try not to just keep it on as background noise throughout the day. That has shown to make it more difficult for a child to process auditory information, meaning when you talk to them, they might not be able to understand and remember the sounds that you're making because the TV is kind of interfering with that. So try not to leave the TV on for background noise. Consider what your child's day looks like, right? It's all about balance. So if your child hasn't been outside yet, if your child hasn't really done anything with their hands yet that day, if they haven't, played with their art stuff in a while, if you haven't really got some good FaceTime with them in a while, maybe it's not the best time to put on the TV. Try to let your child do the other sorts of activities that are more enriching to their development first, and then use TV after they've already completed those things. That way, you'll be able to provide TV in a way that feels maybe you feel a little less guilty about it. So you're like, oh, well, I know they've been running around all day. They've done so many things. This is just their relaxation time. And you'll also make sure you don't get stuck in that rut of, oh, we're just going to turn on the TV. Really challenge yourself to have your child do something physical or manual before you sit them down and let them watch a show or play on the iPad. Okay? Hi, Barbara. And keep an eye on your child's mood and behavior. Sometimes screen time can make a child a little more irritable, a little more anxious even, maybe a little more cranky. Keep an eye on it. You might notice that decreasing screen time does improve your child's mood and make them a little bit happier and friendlier to be around too. All right, so we were talking about how to turn the TV off when your child's watching something. So think about when you're watching a show that you are just so engrossed in, right? It's like maybe it's a cliffhanger, you're just so into it, you want to see what's going to happen next. It can be kind of hard to switch into another mode. Like let's say your phone rings when it's just that moment when something amazing is going to happen, and then your phone rings and you're like, oh, I got to pick this up, and you're trying to have a conversation, but you're also really invested in what's about to happen. It can be hard to switch from your TV perception to real life. So give your child a few ways to ease that transition. First, give them a timer. Let them know that we're going to turn the TV off maybe at the end of this episode or in 5 minutes, or it's almost dinner time. Give them a cue beforehand so that they can start to kind of wrap their mind around the real world again and know that the TV or the iPad will be going away soon. Then try to have a transition activity before you have your child do something that they have to do. So if you're going to be leaving the house in 10 minutes and your child's watching TV, maybe to have the TV turn off in 5 minutes and then spend 5 minutes playing or having a drink of water, and then say, okay, it's time to put shoes on. If you say, okay, TV off, go put your shoes on, your child's just been ripped from their virtual reality, right? They've just been ripped from what they're doing. It's hard to turn on a dime like that. So give your child that little transition, that little buffer, so that they can kind of reacclimate and then do the things that they need to do. I also find it helpful for my kids to talk to them about what they can do, something fun when the TV's off. Like, okay, we're going to turn the TV off at the end of this episode. What should we do after? So, or maybe for my younger child, I would give a choice. Do you want to do puzzles or do you want to do blocks? She's not really into TV, but when my sons were younger, I would give a choice. So allowing your child to have something else fun to turn to gives them that little distraction and makes them remember that it's not all about the TV and that there is something fun to look forward to when the TV turns off. Hopefully that will help with that conflict a little bit, help with those big dramatic meltdowns as soon as the TV turns off, because really it is a big sensory shift for the TV to just go away. So help set your child up for success with that transition. All right. I think I covered all of my notes there. I know that was a lot. Okay. Last thing. This one's hard for me. It's okay if it's hard for you. We're in this together. We as parents, if we want our children to use screen time less, if we want them to crave it less and have it less of a big part of their life, you know what I'm going to say, right? We need to model that behavior too. So what does that look like? Maybe putting your phone in the other room when you're playing with your child, or keeping it in your pocket just in case you have to snap like the most adorable picture, but keeping it away, right? It might be turning the TV off when you're with your child, not watching your own shows, or not even having the news on, really focusing with your child when you're there together. So modeling less screen time will help your child more easily have less screen time. All right, I want to reiterate that you have to do what works for your family. I'm not here laying on the mom guilt. I'm not here shaming. There's no evidence that says TV will make your child not learn to talk or not be social. But there is evidence that does show that a lot of excessive screen time is correlated, does often occur with lower language skills. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Work out a schedule that works for you, or at least some general guidelines. Work on some of those transition strategies to make easing on and off screen time a little bit more easy for your family. Think about balancing your day, and don't overthink it. If you need to lean on screen time a little bit more one week because things are super hectic, it's okay. If you need to dial back a little bit because you feel like you have been giving your child maybe a little too much screen time, that's great too. Do what works for you and your family. Try maybe limiting screen time, see how it goes. I know a lot of people in the group have seen positive effects from that, which is great. It certainly isn't going to hurt your child to limit screen time. So give it a try. All of this is trial and error, right? Being a parent is learning on the go. So be curious, notice what works for your child, what doesn't work, and let us know. We're here for you, right? The great thing about our group, which I just love, is that we all seem to be very aware that we're doing our best and we are doing what works for our family. So if you try to pull back screen time, let us know how it goes. If your child is really seeming to thrive but watches TV throughout the day, let us know how that's going too. We're in it together. We're going to make it work for ourselves. We're going to do what we can to boost our child's language skills, but in a way that works in our lives. All right. Hi, Christine. Thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, I know I covered a lot in these lives. These lives are like turning into big trainings. Let me know if you guys are enjoying these lives, if you feel like you're getting a lot of value out of them. I really try to look at the research, think about the strategies that I've used in work and as a mom, and really bring it all together for you so that you have the knowledge and the tools to make the biggest impact in your child's development. Let me know if you're enjoying these lives, if you want me to keep them up every week. I will be in Arizona next week. I'm still going to come to you live, but the time might be a little bit funky. Let me know what topics you want me to be covering. And hi, Lana. And thanks so much for showing up for your kids, for being here. Again, let me know in the comments if you've watched, if this was helpful. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was. Are you going to do anything differently this week? And yeah, I hope that this has been helpful for you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I will be hopping on reading Nez's comment. Oh, yay! So glad that you're here, Nez. Awesome. I will be hopping off for now. I will be thinking about screen time in my family too, and I will report back. And I got good stuff coming for you guys really soon. I'm so excited to tell you all about it. We'll talk soon. All right? Take care, guys.